Good eve- yes, good evening, everyone. This meeting is being recorded. Okay, it's nice to be back. How are you, Mandy? It's the last time I didn't feel well, right?
Yeah, I
So
had
how
an
was
ear
your ear?
infection. It's better. I can hear now.
Okay. So
Good.
it's good because we are worried.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I
Okay.
don't know how I got it, but I got it. It's good.
So yeah, that is good news. Same with our new pastors, like with what's the name? You can help me, guys. Christelle,
Christelle, um,
Anne,
J,
and the guy
JC,
JC.
JC.
Who else?
Yes, I think.
There's just
I
three
think
of
those
them.
are the three that I just
Okay.
know.
That's
So
great news.
yeah. So thank you so much, Mandy, and to our international members and to all one that who came in tonight. So if you want to do the mock test, just raise your hand like John Joshua Villa. So yes, I will mute my mic. So you can go ahead now.
Okay, great. All right. So it's good to see you, Josh, or John
Oh,
Joshua.
yeah, you can call me John Mandy.
Okay. I wanted to make sure your preference. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, I will get started. So we're going to start on part one. What do you think I'm sorry, do you think it is a good thing that companies send out spam email for advertising purposes?
Actually, for me, it's kind of difficult for you to read the spam because it might not read in the inbox title, and it will go down to the bottom of the email and separately to the spam item. So it's kind of difficult for the employees to read it, and it's much more convenient for it to directly email you directly.
Good. And do you think email can replace handwriting?
Well, I believe so, because with the technology right now, it's with the advancement of science, it basically is the trend right now. Even with the pandemic that we're going on, the email right now is blasting everywhere, so it can directly connect to people and whichever they want to talk about.
Good. Awesome. And do you often write something by hand?
To tell you honestly, I seldomly do because I'm mostly used to the computer right now, and with that, along with my smartphone, it's kind of convenient for me when I try to send messages or try to email. And the thing is, probably writing in a longhand, it's kind of difficult unless I'm writing in a jotted notes or trying to buy some groceries or something that I jot notes on the paper.
Good. And who do you usually write to, and what do you write about?
Well, I mostly write with notes with my friends, and with the use of emails and text messages, and usually come by them with to say how are they doing with this kind of situation we're in right now, and it's pretty pleasing that they also reply with me with those kinds of messages, that heartwarming messages that they can provide me with, and it's truly I truly appreciate them and how they respond to me.
Good. And what are the differences between handwriting and email?
Well, handwriting itself, it's basically when you try to write on your notes, jotted it, and with that, and it's kind of difficult for it to be sent to the recipient. And of course, it will take time for it to be sent when you try to send it through writing. And when you say about email, it's probably easier for it to be sent, and you just have a proper internet connection, and with that, along with messages that you want to send. And I think it's probably more very convenient for you to send messages. And with an instant reply, I think it would probably go both ways. And it's very convenient.
Good. Awesome. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to move on to part two. Do you have something to write with?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Great. Awesome. So as soon as Jeff puts the question up there, I'll read it to you, and then I'll give you a minute. All right. So describe an important text message you received. You should say who sent it to you, why you still remember it, and explain how you felt after you received it. And you can have a minute starting now. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So whenever you start, I'll start the 2-minute timer.
Okay. So this is about my there are plenty of text messages I received from important people, but the most essential that I could remember was when my sister texted me that I passed the NCLEX exam about 2 years ago, and it was really uplifting for me, and I was really dumbfounded of what the result was because my sister just texted me, and then when I read the text messages, I was so elated. I was over the moon with that kind of experience. I don't know how to explain it at that time, but it was really great for me. It was really joyful for me that I was able to pass that exam, because I also reminded that it was the grueling kind of task that I've been through, that the days, that months of preparation that I was able to conquer. And with that, um, people always encourage me to study more and to pursue your dreams. And with that, I was able to do it. And with that, I was really happy. And also my parents, when they heard the news, they were flabbergasted about it. And I was kind of shocked. I was in trembled. My words were like words that aren't coming out of my mouth. That's how practically I felt that time. And was the adding to that was I was really in a situation that I'm not off my feet, and it was, it was really a great experience for me. I always remember that, and my sister was practically the one who gave me the big news for that. And I always put into my mind that putting hard work with that can have a great impact in your life. And so adding to those, I also informed my wife, and so she just like jumped from the roof from there with a happy thought, and it was
Okay.
really amazing for us.
Good. Excellent. Okay. Awesome. You made it. All
Okay.
right. All right. So we're going to move on to part 3. And let me just change over really quickly. Okay. So, John, what are the positive and negative effects of using technology to communicate?
Well, I should say the good thing about using technology is that it's um, ubiquitous around it. It's all around us. So basically, you can use it every time and every day that we're able to depend upon it, and it makes life much more easier. And I should say I'm a victim of that, because for me, I'm really a techie guy, and much more dependent. I think everyone is. And the downside of it is probably too much dependency on that could shatter all your work or your dreams with a snap of the electricity. Or if there's no electricity, you can't work, and you are going to stop on what you're doing and everything. So I've experienced that also when I was working, and basically I'm working at home, and when the technologies are off, the internet are down, and it kind of have the bad day for me because I was too dependent on technology.
Good. Okay. And what kind of services do people mostly use to send their important and secretive messages? and why?
Well, that's kind of interesting questions. To Let me think about it for a while. Oh yeah, basically, people who try to send through emails, and hopefully, those emails contain um, probably a software that could prevent anyone from breaching on it. And with that, I guess people would usually send messages through emails. For me, it's the most safest way in a technological manner. And I, for one, is much more of an internet enthusiast. I usually send emails to my friends, or even to my coworkers for the important um, decision or important discussion that we're going to have to. And with that, I guess that's probably it.
Okay, good. And what type of relationship is suitable for sending important messages?
Pardon me, Mandy?
Yeah, let me read it again. What type of relationship is suitable for sending important messages?
Well, again, it's kind of tough question, but let me think again. Probably a relationship that you're into with your coworkers, that you have a connection with them, that you trust them, people that you know that are really trustworthy to be sent to those kinds of messages, that is really vital for them to know. Then and probably with other kinds of people, that family of course can be, you can send it to them especially. um, I, for one, I'm constantly texting with my sister right now because she's in the United States, to know how are they doing with the pandemic, and of course with the fires that have been going on through the area, because they live in the California. That's why I keep on texting them, and to see that how are they doing in that area. So it's kind of, I kind of have been worrying a lot a bit about them because of their health, and also with the pandemic, and it's crashing down on them. And hopefully that those kinds of messages
Good,
able to reach
excellent.
them perfectly.
Okay. Um, so Jeff, it looks like two of the questions might be the same. So it's asking me now to say, what kind of services do people like to use to send important messages? And before it said important and secretive messages. So is that a repeat?
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can skip
I'll
that.
skip that one.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So we'll move on to this one, John. Why do people make phone calls instead of sending messages when there is something important?
Well, I guess that people usually uh, call people when they are really in an emergency situation, that your loved ones, or they're having a hard time, or they're getting ill. So I think it's practically more important to call someone, or your family member, or even the emergency department, to have it catered. And with that, I was able to experience that with my grandmother. And with that, it's really important to call when there is an emergency text messages. I mean, sorry, to call for the ambulances. And with that, other than that, sorry. On the other hand, having text messages is kind of difficult, because you don't know if the recipient is able to read your message, and how urgent it is, because you didn't have the emotions of it. It's kind of hard, and then texting it. So probably I would prefer calling someone in an emergency case.
Good. And that concludes the speaking portion. You're done. Sorry. You're
That's
right.
okay. The questions are kind of difficult.
Yeah, they were. But you did a good job. Excellent. Good. So, do you have anything you want to say first, or any questions?
um,
You just want to breathe?
this That's okay. The questions were quite similar to the
The one
succeeding
before?
questions. Yes, it's kind of,
Yeah.
for me, it's kind of difficult, and then I have to for me, I had to find a loophole for it, so I can have an idea for each and every question. And yeah, the hesitations are there, and hopefully it's not that quite obvious, and probably some grammar mistakes, and I was able to correct myself. And What else? I don't know. I'm still
Yeah,
shaking right now.
that's okay. I just want to mention, I only heard one real pronunciation issue, and it was the word recipient. So if we can just go over that, then we'll be done with pronunciation because you speak
Uh,
beautifully.
Thank you for that.
So let's just
Yeah,
say recipient.
recipient.
Yeah, so it's the person who receives something, so they are the recipient. So let me hear you say it. Let's just say it in a sentence. I was the recipient of some good news.
I was the recipient of good news.
Perfect. Good. You've got it.
Probably
Excellent.
I was talking too fast. That's why.
That's okay. That's okay. And it's okay if you recognize that. It's okay. That's good that you recognize it first. Sorry, Jeff, there's a lot in the chat, so hopefully you're in charge of that. Okay, so I'm going to go on and we'll look over part one. So we started with asking you, is it a good thing that companies send out spam email for advertising? Do you think email can replace handwriting? Do you often write something by hand? Who do you usually write to? And what are the differences between handwriting and email? So you said, actually, for me, it's kind of difficult to read the spam. So that was a good introduction. And it's totally relatable that spam there's too much of it, so you just kind of tune it out. So some vocabulary words that you used were spam and inbox and email you directly versus sending a spam. And you said it's that trend right now. So you talked about things like that. And you also said one thing that I wanted to talk about in the grammatical area, you said whichever they want to talk about. So instead of saying whichever, you want to say whatever.
Okay.
So I think we were referencing what companies send you, and you said it would be better if they send you whichever they want to talk about, but let's say whatever they want to talk about.
Okay.
Great. And then do you think email can replace handwriting? You said, well, I believe so with the technology now. It's a great introduction there as well. You used the words seldom, which means like you rarely handwrite things is what you were talking. And I like that you use the word jotted. So you're talking about like when you make a grocery list or just like a to-do list, you just jot it down. I know when I was in school, we had to write things by hand, and now it's very different, very different.
Yes, I
And I wasn't
agree.
sure if in the nursing profession you all have to write a lot by hand or not. I'm not very familiar with it. So, um, and then you talked about writing in longhand, which is a very great way of saying handwritten. So that's another way of saying handwritten is writing in longhand. And you said you jotted notes. One thing I wanted to talk about in the grammatical side, you said it's very more convenient for you to. So let's look at that sentence. Very more convenient for you to email. So what do you think about that sentence?
Yeah, I think it's an overkill.
Yeah,
And
you've got it. So instead of saying very more convenient, I would just say it's more convenient.
more convenient.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
more
agree. I
convenient.
agree.
Yeah, you've got it. And I agree. I think it's great that you recognized it. So that's half of the battle right there. Okay. And then do you often write something by hand? And you said, to tell you honestly, I seldom do. And that's another great use of seldom. It's something that you do rarely. I know a lot of people have trouble with the pronunciation of rare and rarely. So you picked a word that was easier and better to pronounce, seldom. Um, and you said, well, I mostly write notes with my friends, and that's when we talked about who you're writing to. You said the use of emails and text messages. You said heartwarming messages. It's an instant reply, and those are uplifting for me. And so those are some of the vocabulary that you used right there. So do you feel like on part one that you were able to give a long enough response?
Well, I was able to give the answer. I mean, I was
Mm-hmm.
able to answer it, and I hope it's long enough that I made sense.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
hope it suffice. It's
Yeah, you hope it suffice. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you gave a good reply. At the very first one, talking about spam, maybe it was a little bit difficult, but that's the first question, and and getting off to that start. But when we were talking about handwriting and emailing and stuff like that, the difference between handwriting and email, I think you really started to get into your flow or get into your groove right there. Okay. And then you said, well, handwriting itself, it's basically when you try to write the notes, jotting it down. So when you're using that verb jot, just make sure that you're using it correctly. So to jot something down, for anyone that doesn't know, jot down is to quickly write. Is that right? So you're not
Yes.
you don't worry about how clear your handwriting is, and you know that you're the only one who's going to really see it, so it can be as messy as it needs to be.
I agree. Just like this one.
Yes, writing down notes. Yeah, I'm sure you guys get notes that are jotted from doctors all the time that you're like, what in the world did you just write? So
I totally agree with that.
yeah. So let's move on to part 2. Describe an important text message you received. You should say who sent it to you, why you still remember it. And that also is similar to the question next. Explain how you felt about after you received it. So you talked about a time, you said, the very beginning, I liked your sentence. You didn't say, I'm going to tell you, or let me tell you. You said, there are plenty of text messages I receive, but the most important one, and then you went on to tell me about that. So you gave a generalized top answer about text messages, and then you went into the answer. So we've seen that a few times, and people have been starting to do that in this group, and it's wonderful to see. I think that's great. So you talked about that you were really dumbfounded, you were elated, you were over the moon with that kind of experience, you were joyful. So instead of you just saying, I was happy, I was excited, you used all these different ways to say that. Is this your son?
Oh, yes.
Oh, he's so sweet. Good. And you also mentioned that when you had gotten the text message, you said, I was trembled. So let's think about that. I was trembling.
Trembling, probably. Sorry,
Yeah, that's
I
okay.
didn't, yeah.
You were
Trembling,
probably
this was the
trembling
word.
while you were answering too.
Yes, actually, you got me.
Yeah, so you can say, I was trembling, and then you said, I always put into my mind that putting in hard work can have a great impact. So that's what you used to kind of end your part 2, sort of to conclude. You were telling me, this text message reminds me that I'm going to always remember this. So instead of saying, I always put into my mind, you can say, this text message reminds me that when I put in the hard work, it will pay off. Have you ever heard
Yes.
that term before, pay off?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I'm actually, to tell you honestly, I'm almost lost of words because I think, what am I going to add for this?
Oh,
That's why I
yeah.
just end.
I was impressed that you talked for 2 minutes on this quick text message, but yeah, from your sister. And then you also talked about how that it was a joyful experience for you, that this was a grueling kind of task that you had been through. And grueling is a wonderful word there. You didn't say it was hard or it was difficult, but it was grueling. And some other expressions that we use when we're talking about something that's difficult or grueling is, you can say, I put in my blood, sweat, and tears, or I paid in blood, sweat, and tears. And it's not literally that you're doing that, you're not bleeding on your test,
Yes.
but it feels that way. And you know that we as Americans, we're very emotional when we talk. So yeah, for you to say that it had been a grueling kind of task, you were able to conquer it. And then you went on to talk about how your parents felt. So this is a good thing if you're running out of stuff to say. You talked about how you felt, how your sister felt sharing it with you, and then other people that were affected by it. Because in all honesty, you could say, to make a long story short, this is what happened and I felt great. But you had to make it sound really long and amazing. And so you said they were flabbergasted, and you said, I was knocked off my feet. So those are some really good ways of saying the same thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's move on to part 3, which you said these questions seem to kind of overlap, which it's okay. But yeah, I think that can sometimes happen. What are the positive and negative effects of using technology to communicate? Well, I should say the good thing about using technology, and you said it is ubiquitous. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you
Yes.
want to tell everybody what ubiquitous means if they don't know?
Yes. When I say ubiquitous, it's like it's everywhere. The technology is everywhere.
Yeah. So other words would
wherever.
be, yeah.
Other words would be omnipresent.
Prevalent.
Prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you can't.
24/7.
Yeah. You can't get away from it.
Yes,
Exactly.
I agree.
Definitely. Good. So, and you said and then you were also, so you told me about the technology being everywhere around us. And so this question asks you a little bit of compare and contrast the positive and negative effects. So instead of you saying the negative, you then changed it to the downside, which is a great way of paraphrasing, negative to the downside. So that's a good job right there. I liked what you said, and I'm trying to make sure I understood it right. When you said you can shatter all your dreams with the snap of like when electricity goes out, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if electricity is out or Wi-Fi is out, which happened to me last week, and it was the end of the world for my daughter. She was like, I can't watch YouTube Kids. What am I going to do? So I did not know she knew what hotspot was at the age of 6. So yeah, definitely at the snap of, at the snap, I'm trying to think of, the snap of a button. No, I'm using it wrong. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me. I should know this, but you're right. With the snap of your fingers, everything can change. And so you said another thing that I wanted to correct you on. It says it makes life much more easier. Makes life much more easier. So if you look at that, Josh, or John, makes life much more easier.
I think it's also another overkill.
Mm-hmm.
It's
so what would
more,
you change it to? Makes life much easier or more easier?
More
so not
easier.
much or more, either one.
Either one. Okay.
So you just have to choose one. And then I did want to mention, so I liked how you said I'm a victim of that, but it was when you were talking about the positive side. Do you think that being a victim is positive or negative?
For me, I kind of have it both sides.
Okay.
When you're a victim, you're like dependent on it every time. I mean, 24/7.
So the first thing you were doing is you were telling me about the positives of technology, and then you were saying it makes life easier and convenient, and then you called yourself a victim of that.
Yeah, probably probably it sounded like more of a I'm what do you call this? Like I am more dependent on it or something. Like it's really hard for me to get away with it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's okay to say that I'm a victim of that, but just when you're saying I'm a victim of that, victim is generally thought of as a negative.
Negative. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great
I
phrase.
didn't expand it more.
Yeah,
it's a great. To expand it more.
That's okay. It's a great phrase. You just might want to save it for when you go to the downside of it. Is that you can't get away from it. It's always there. If you lose it, what are you going to do? So, and then some other vocabulary that I loved hearing you say on all of part 3 was software breach. You used the term breach. You said you're an internet enthusiast. You talked about people that were trustworthy. It's really vital for them. I, for one, am constantly texting with my sister. It's crushing down on them. And so those were some really good things that you used while you were talking about that. So here's some good introductions that you used. Well, that's kind of an interesting question. Let me think about it. But you went right after that. You didn't take any time to think about it. So that's okay. But that's a good way of saying something while you're thinking.
Yes.
And you said, again, it's kind of a tough question. And I feel like you said that to me because I asked you almost the exact same question twice in a row. But yeah, And another way, if I'm asking you a question that seems to be repetitive, you can say, well, as I said before, or to reiterate, or looking back at what I just said. So those are some good ways of pulling that information that you just used into the next answer.
Okay, okay.
So, and you said, well, I guess people usually call people when they are in an emergency situation. So that's a great intro, but let's look at it. We use people twice. So, well, I guess people usually call people when they are in an emergency situation.
Yeah, I could have
So,
used an individual or a
yeah,
family member. Yeah.
yeah. Or you can say, well, I guess people usually call others, or, yeah, that's a great way of doing it. Um, and then you were talking about when you said the technologies are off and internet are down. So this is something that we're going to correct. When
Okay.
technologies are off and the internet, so the internet is a singular noun. So it's
It's
internet
down.
is down.
It's
Great.
down.
Good. And then when you talked about your sister who lives in California, so you said the California. So you're in the Philippines, but she's in California.
California. Yes.
Are you not in
I
the Philippines? I'm sorry. I don't know where you live.
I'm in the Philippines right now.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So yeah, just leave that the off of California. And you said when they having a hard time. So what are you missing? When they
When they are having
You
they
said
are
it, when
having
they are having a hard time. Perfect. I love how you can hear it and fix it. You're doing great.
yes.
So, how do you feel that your flow was? And I did want to mention, and I forgot to write it down, when you were talking about your is it NCLEX exam that you received
Yes.
the text message for, and when you were also talking about your sister, those are two things that are obviously close to your heart. I could hear it in your tone and your the way that you were speaking. So good emotion there. That was really good.
Yes. Thank you for that.
You're
Thank you for that,
welcome.
Mandy.
Sure. How do you feel? Anyone else have any comments? I feel like that's Jeff.
Okay, I will just add on the part two. I could say that yeah, once you already said that you're happy, I think you repeat it again the thoughts, and this is just only my observation, and then you go on tangents. So it's nice that you will do little tangents, but you need to go back again to the main topic because the coherence and cohesive, you need to be on that main topic.
Yeah, so
Yes,
let's
sir.
look at that one really quick and say, so if he has something that is really his main emotion is just feeling happy, how can he expand that?
I think is that on the part two that he mentioned about California and sister, that she has a sister in California.
Okay, so yeah, you could add a little bit more detail about who the person was that sent it to you.
Yes, or maybe how did you review during that time? Because it's like worthy that you got a good news because you put a lot of hard work, and 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 you can also make tell a story about during that exam. How did you do? So at least it's still
Oh,
related on that
okay.
exam.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you did a great
and
job at saying all the, go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, and also if you did celebration that you could add because it's somehow related to
Yes.
your exam. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
good. Awesome, thank you. All right, I think we're
So
good.
yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
Mandy. So thank you. So all in all, Mandy, how would you I mean just
It's a,
to
it's
I mean not to rate me,
Not
but
to rate you.
I
Yeah,
give that
so here's my I'll just say the feedback that of
two
things to
cents.
work on is just slowing down a little bit. You have great pronunciation, you have good ideas, but yeah, like I wouldn't have picked up on what Jeff said about, he basically said he's happy in about 5 different ways, and that's all he said. So thinking about that, did I answer the question? Is a good thing to do. But yeah, I mean, the pronunciation was really good, and just watching those really small grammatical errors, adding articles where you don't need to, or having the correct tense, and or much more. So choosing much or choosing more.
More. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think
I think the rate would be, do you think he can take an exam or a little more practice?
just a little bit more. Just
Okay.
a little more.
Okay.
Okay.
That's how
Thank
we
you.
I mean,
evaluate.
what score? What score do you want, John?
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful to get more than 7, but my score issue to get a score of 7. But I'm hoping more.
Yeah,
As to where
you
I
should
can
aim
to
for
where
the
actually I
stars.
can go aim for the stars.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, aim high, and then go as high as you can. So yeah, you did great.
So yes, thank you,
Thank you,
Joshua.
Mandy.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
so much, Joshua.
Thank you, Sir
So
Jeff.
okay, thanks. Guys, if you want to be the next one, you can raise your hand. Please raise your hand, and we're just gonna have a little break. So most of
Oh,
our pastor wants to say something. Just
Mandy,
Jeanette.
thank you again, Mandy.
Bye, John.
thank you, John. So
Thank you,
yes,
Sir Jeff.
yes. Christelle, come on in, Christelle.
Hi. Hi,
Congratulations.
Mandy.
Yay!
Thank
I
you.
feel like I need a party hat.
Yeah. Just want to say thank you, Mandy, for helping me out during my practice the day before the exam. It was
Oh
really
yeah.
helpful. You know, when I finished the mock speaking with you, I felt like I did already the actual test because almost 100 people were watching, and having to speak with a native speaker, it really puts you the pressure, and I got used to that nerve-wracking feeling already. So this group was really helpful for me to
Good.
overcome my fears. Yes, and yeah, I just want to say really thank you for
You
helping
did
us.
you did the hard work. So good. I'm glad.
Yeah, that's it. And it was such a great gift for me because I just had my birthday. So 2 days, 3 days after my birthday, it finally came out, the result.
Oh,
And
awesome.
yeah, I got 7.5 with the speaking already. I was 6 before. I
Are you
was 6.
kidding?
Yes, I was 6. Maybe because I didn't really had the idea of how does the speaking works or the topics that are actually asked. So really, it has to be practiced every day. So that's my advice for all. You have to really overcome those fears so that it will come out naturally. So
That's
yeah, thank you,
Okay.
awesome.
Mandy.
Oh
So
yeah.
Christelle, reserve that for your success story. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
dropping
Oh
in.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's give a chance for thank you, Christelle, and congratulations. Enjoy the moment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mandy. Bye.
Thank
Okay, come
you.
on in. What's next? Janet. Janet, if you're still here.
Hi, Mandy.
Wow.
Hey, Janet. How are you?
Hopefully, you still remember me, the rural word.
I do. Yes.
Rural world.
The word
Until
that
now, I can't pronounce
I
it.
cannot say that word.
Just want to say thank you. Actually, during the time I took the practice with you, that's Thursday. So 2 days after I took my exam and I got 7.5 in speaking as well. So I really thank you and Sir Jeff's group. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Jeff.
Thank
Jeff does a
you.
great job getting all this together. Yeah,
Yeah.
So
awesome.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks
so
for dropping
much.
by.
Thanks, Jeanette.
Congratulations again.
Congrats.
Bye.
That's another we have also another one pastor from Singapore because Janet is from Singapore. So Anne, come on in, Anne.
Hi, Sir
Hello,
Jeff.
congratulations. Where's the dog?
Yeah, where's your dog?
I'm at home already. And I just want to say thank you, Mandy, for helping me at that moment because that is my second time to attend this group at that time that I presented myself, and it really helps me a lot. I tried to apply all those ideas that you put into me and those feedback, and I'm really happy. And I made it. I get a 7 in speaking. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming and
Congratulations.
telling us.
Yes, we are so proud of you guys.
We asked Sir Jeff. We
Yeah.
asked Sir Jeff to give us a chance to say thank you to you.
Oh,
Thank
that's so
you.
sweet. You guys are gonna make me cry.
So yeah, thank you so much, Anne. So reserve that
Thank
for
you
your
for
success
sharing.
story. Okay, thanks. So now we have a new candidate. It's MD Jibon. I think he's from, I don't know